I want to tell you something that most people in the online space never say out loud. I had made close to six figures in online sales, and I felt like I was failing. Not because the number wasn't real, not because I wasn't ungrateful, I was, but because every single dollar out of that income that I had made required my direct effort to exist. Every client required my constant presence. Every month required me to start from zero and rebuild the revenue all over again. And the moment I stopped, even for a week, the income stopped with it. I had built something that looked like a business from the outside, but from the inside, it was the most demanding job I ever had. And nobody told me that was a problem. If you're watching this video right now, I want to ask you something. Are you showing up consistently, posting, launching, engaging, following up, and still wondering why the income still feels unpredictable? Perhaps you're working harder every year, but the revenue doesn't seem to reflect the effort. I've been there. Are you building something you told yourself that it will bring freedom, but it's starting to feel like a very expensive trap? If any of that resonated, you are in the right place. And I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes because what I'm about to share with you is the honest version of the entrepreneurial journey that nobody posts about. Sadly, it's not talked about enough. My name is Doreen Mujolet. I'm a business mentor and marketing consultant. And I'm the host of the Proverbs 31 CEO podcast. This channel exists for one specific woman, the faith-led female founder who is done with the hassle, who has tried the strategies, invested in the courses, shown up consistently, and is still wondering why consistent income still feels so far away. She knows she was called to build something, but is starting to question whether the way she's building it is actually aligned with the life she was called to live. That woman is who I built this channel for because I was that woman. And I want to show her the way out. So let me take you back to 2018. I was pregnant with my first child and I was laid off from my job. Not because of my performance, or because I was pregnant. I know that sounds terrible. I remember sitting with that, the unfairness of it, the fear, the uncertainty, and making a decision in that moment that I was never going to let someone else have that kind of control over my income ever again. And that is how I got online, started looking for how to make money online, literally. So I started building online and I started with network marketing. And they sold me on the dream of residual income, passive money, time freedom, building something that works. While you sleep, boy, was I sold on that dream. 8 months later, I had made a total of $61. 61 USD. My husband told me to get a real job. My dad told me to get a real job. My family told me to get a real job. And part of me wondered if they were right, to be honest. But something in me, something deeper than logic and louder than the doubt said, there had to be another way. There had to be another way. So I kept going. I pivoted to done for you products, done for you digital products. My first $100 sales came and it lit me up like nothing. Then my first $250 came, then $500, then my first $1,000, right? It wasn't life-changing money, but it proved something to me. That first money you make, that first sale is to build proof, is to build belief that what you're doing actually work, right? So it proved to me that if I could make $1 online, I could make 100, I could make 1,000, right? And if I could make 100, I could make 1,000. And if I could make 1,000, I could make 1,000,000. By 2020, I had gone into high ticket affiliate marketing because once you start making the hundreds, the 250s, you want to hit the thousands, right? So I invested in mentorship. Within 6 weeks, I'd closed my first $1,000 sale. Within 10 months, I had made $10,000 in commissions. By the end of that season, $25,000. I kept going. I kept hiring more mentors, more offers, and more selling. by 2023, I had done over $60,000 in sales. I had worked with 27 clients personally, all from Facebook alone. I launched my own coaching program at $1,500, and my clients were winning. So I went from selling, some of my clients went from selling a $50 offer to closing their first $800 package in a span of 8 weeks, right? And I had booked a discovery call after showing up for months and almost giving up, right? From the outside, it looked like everything was working. Everything looked good, right? So you're probably wondering what could have been wrong. But here's what wasn't showing up in the highlight reel. I was exhausted. I'll be honest. I was exhausted. And I was burnt out. Not the good kind of tired that comes from doing meaningful work. The kind of tired that lives in your bones. After I had done my first 10, I was so tired. I was like, is this how heavy it feels to be able to make money? It felt heavy. The kind that makes you sit on the floor with your son when he asks you to put the laptop down and realize that somewhere along the line, you had made the business. And the reason why you made the business was so you can get freedom, right? But it had become the other way around. I had built a business that I couldn't escape from and was pulling me away from my family. To the extent that my son came to me one day and said, Mom, when are you putting the laptop down? So I had built multiple 5 figures in sales entirely on effort. On my effort. Yes, God helped me. Obviously, I couldn't have done this alone. On my content, my launches, my DMs, my energy. And the moment I paused for pregnancy, for rest, for my family, the revenue paused with me. Oh my God, it was not a good feeling. That is when I knew something was wrong. But that wasn't freedom. That was a different kind of prison. And I had built it with my own hands, sadly. That's why I said it looked beautiful on the outside. It looked really successful. But from the inside, these were the parts that were not talked about. And these are the parts that most business owners don't talk about. They hit 6 figures and they don't talk about. Others hit 6 figures and they have to divorce because their home has collapsed, because the business has taken all the attention. That part is not talked about. So, the turning point. In 2024, I took a step back. In 2024, I had taken a step back. Not because I wanted to quit, but because I needed to ask a question I had been too busy to ask. What if the problem wasn't how hard I was working? What if the problem was the way my business was built? And that question changed everything, because I stopped looking for a better strategy, because I had been looking for better strategies, better mentors, just to level up, and started looking at the structure underneath the strategy. And what I found was a foundation that was not designed to create consistent income without my constant effort. That's where I saw the entire leaks in my business. There was no attraction system that worked without me manually reaching out. No nurture system that kept warm leads without manual follow-up. No conversion system that moved people to a buying decision without me being in every conversation. I had tactics, I had content, I had offers. What I didn't have was infrastructure. What I didn't have was systems. And you can't build a predictable business on unpredictable effort, or even on consistent effort. You need systems. So I rebuilt from the ground up, not with more tactics, but with a framework I now call the CRACE system. And I'm just going to give a brief summary of what the system is about. And the first C in the case is getting clarity, right? You want to be very specific about who you serve, the problem you solve, right? So that your content can do the qualifying before anyone reaches the DM. Then the A in the case is alignment, building an offer ecosystem where a buyer has a natural pathway to become a client without you manually chasing them. Then we have S in the case, which is systems, right? And these are automations that move people through the buyer journey, whether you're online or not. Then the last one is E in the case, which is evaluation and expansion, right? You're going to measure what's working so you can stop pouring energy into effort that doesn't produce results. So that framework is what this channel is also built around, because over here we are not hustling. Over here we are building systems so we can build the God way, the Proverbs 31 way. So let me tell you exactly who this channel is for. This channel is for you if you're a coach, if you're a founder, if you're a consultant or a service provider who's been building online long enough to be frustrated. You even have an audience, maybe small, maybe growing, but the income doesn't feel consistent or predictable. You're posting content regularly, but it's not consistently converting into sales. You've invested in strategies and courses that work briefly, but nothing has stuck. You feel like you are just one more strategy away from a breakthrough, but the breakthrough keeps moving. It never comes. And underneath all of it, you're a woman of faith who believes she was called to build something bigger than her. But you're starting to wonder if the way you're building is actually aligned with the life that you really want to live, that you've been called to live. If that's how you feel, this channel is for you. This is what I promise that you get every week. I'm going to be giving you 3 things. My honest confessions, those are the real stories from my journey and the journeys of the women I've worked with, not the highlight reel, the truth. The frameworks and the systems, concrete, practical tools you can implement immediately to create more structure, consistency, and more predictable income in your business. And the faith foundation is the third thing, because I believe that the most sustainable businesses are not built on hustle. Except the Lord builds the house, the builders build in vain. So the Lord must build with you, right? And so these sustainable businesses are not built on hustle, but they're built on obedience, on clarity about your calling, on the wisdom that comes from building with God, not just for Him. And that's what the Proverbs 31 woman in scripture is. She was strategic. She considered before she acted. She evaluated before she invested. She built with her household in mind, not just her revenue targets. Right? That's the kind of CEO we're building here. Not louder, not busier, but just building with wisdom. So if this resonated with you, or if you had something in this video that felt like it was written specifically for you, I want you to do 3 things right now. First, I want you to subscribe to this channel. I publish a new video every week. Every video is built to give you something you can think about, implement, and build with. Second, go ahead and listen to the Proverbs 31 CEO podcast episodes that are already published on this channel. Especially episode 2, casting pearls versus nerds. If you've been attracting the wrong clients, that episode will ship something immediately. Third, I want you to go to the link in the description and get the playbook where I document my entire journey, the truth. And it's called The Confessions of an Entrepreneur. From hustle to high ticket. It's $17. It documents the complete rebuild, the collapse, the lies that I believe, the architecture shift, the systems, and the exact framework I used to go from $61 in 8 months to $60K in sales and growing. It is the most honest $17 you would ever spend on your business this year. I want to leave you with one thing before you go. You are not failing, woman of God. You were handed a broken business model and told it was the blueprint. More content, more visibility, more hustle. Nobody told you about the structure and the systems underneath it. Nobody told you that you cannot scale sacrifice. Nobody told you that businesses that last is not the one built on the most effort. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not built on the most effort. It's the one built on the clearest obedience, plus systems and structure to handle the blessings when it comes. You need that capacity. I'm here to tell you now, and I am not going anywhere. See you in the next video. I'm Doreen Mushalet, and this is the Proverbs 31 CEO. Let's build.